is set. The scene is set in New Sarum, in a rather run-down part of town. Nathaniel Blake is doing his rounds, driving around in his car, keeping his eyes out, like a good member of the family, for any trouble, continuing his job in his mortal life, but also fulfilling the instructions that his sire gave him. And so far it has been a quiet night. He has, of course, seen the usual drug dealers and transients and other poor unfortunate souls who have no other real place to go. And while he does pity them, he does not detect anything out of the ordinary. No activity is what he would very hesitantly call it. The city seems to be quiet for the most part, but he has this frustrating itch at the back of his head, something he can't really get away from. And as he's rounding the bend, that itch suddenly explodes into a plethora of images. Images that he only vaguely recognizes from maybe some pictures in textbooks or old Civil War movies. This is the third time he's had such a vivid hallucination like this. He has to put his foot on the brake immediately, or else possibly run the risk of crashing into a street light. So complete is he absorbed by the vision. Then when it finally does fade, he finds himself sitting there with the car on idle. His hands are shaking. This is really starting to piss him off. Although his sire did spare him from the grip of death, the price has been wearing on his consciousness for a while. Ever since his little trip to the club, ever since he has been able to walk amongst others of his kind and see how they had been spared so much of the hardships that he and his psyche have had to bear. He has become more and more frustrated with his condition as a Malkavian. So frustratedly, he decides on something he's been putting off for a while. And so he puts the car back into drive and begins to head towards a very particular apartment complex. Meanwhile, else in the city,
As this is happening, Howard Holliday, the medical genius, is sitting in his home reading the book Atlas Shrugged, smoking a cigarette, and just having a pleasant time trying to forget about all the world and what he has become, trying to forget all of this nonsense about the Camarilla and all of this superstitious belief in supernaturals and everything, and how all of this silliness, as he knows, of course, that it is not supernatural, it has to be medical in nature. As he is sitting there reading his book, he too begins to have the visions. Seeing bloodshed and murder, cannons firing, guns going off, he clutches his head, just trying to stop it from happening, yelling, "Get out of my head! Get out of my head!" When it finally does stop, he realizes that the coffee table he was sitting in front of is now turned over. There are several things, several of his books from the bookshelf are strewn about all over the floor, and he's broken a vase in his sitting room. At this moment, he knows he's been having these visions for weeks now, and this being one of the most violent ones, aside from the second. He decides he too will go and find his sire, Mr. Finch. He gets in his small car and drives off that way.
By chance, or rather, those who believe in such things by fate, both cars arrive at the apartment complex at roughly the same time. And as Nathaniel and Mr. Holliday are walking towards the entrance, they both spot each other on opposite ends of the sidewalk. They exchange a look, but continue walking and reach the entryway at about the same time, in which Mr. Blake just sort of nods his head and goes, Howard.
Nathaniel, what are you doing here?
None of your damn business.
You here to see Finch?
You?
Yes.
Well then, and then he'll just open the door and almost out of instinct politeness, he holds the door open for Mr. Holliday.
Door doesn't open. Door is locked.
God damn it.
Over to the
Nathaniel,
side, you'll
punch
see.
the window.
Over to the side, you'll see what looks like buzzer. You see names of people and buttons to buzz them in, as well as like a metal box down there as well. You look closely, and eventually you will see the number. It's just 307. It's the only one without a name, but you should know that this is the apartment for Tom. If you all want to roll also a perception alertness as well.
Right. In that case, would you roll perception alertness for me? I'm still using my poor computer.
Perception.
Don't have access to
Oh,
it.
God.
I will roll perception alertness for you.
And I'll roll it for myself.
Right.
What? How many dice do I need to roll? Oh, come on, dice stream. How many dice do I need to roll for you, Ben?
I think that might be a fail.
No.
6 dice, please.
6. Okay. Yeah, you did fine. All right. Mr. Holliday, you will hear like a zzz, zzz sound. That's all you see. Nathaniel, you will see a camera. Now, do you ring that bell?
Click.
All right. You hear nothing for a moment, and then after a bit, all you hear is, "Who is it?
It's us.
Who's us?"
Finch.
Sorry to disturb
Holiday
you,
and,
sir.
and it's Nathaniel's person.
Nathaniel. Howard. I haven't
Remember
seen
us?
you in a while. You hear some shuffling, just like, things shuffling around. Put your phones in the box. Put your guns in the box. Put all your things in the box.
Howard takes out a Derringer, puts it in the box, takes out a Smith & Wesson Escort, puts it in the box, takes out a cell phone, puts it in the box. I don't understand why you don't let us bring those up.
That's not your concern, is it, Nathaniel?
You know what happened to me.
Looking more frustratedly at Mr. Holliday for the gall of carrying around what he could only assume was 2 unregistered guns.
They are registered.
His meager cell phone and nightstick / flashlight and just put them away, since he does not even have enough money to afford a gun on his salary.
After a few minutes, you hear a buzz and the door go click.
Open. Walk in. I hold the door for Nathaniel.
And the two walk inside.
Okay.
Do a
While
sort
you
of mocking smirk.
while you walk, the interior of the apartment is rather. It's not dirty per se. I mean, it has enough dirt for regular foot traffic would have, but it definitely looks worn out. You could see wallpaper peeling off some of the walls, some of the doors. Probably could use a coat of paint. The elevator is out of service, so you have to take the stairs. When you get to the door of 307, you might hear some talking behind the door. But the door, of course, is locked.
Knock on the door.
Knock on wood.
You hear again shuffling, and then a bunch of locks being clicked. Just click, click, shh, click, 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 click. And then finally the door opens with still one of those, chain locks on it, and it peeks through. Hello, boys. Close it, unlock, and let you in.
Hello, Finch.
He doesn't say anything. He just gets out of your way and tells you, and just lets you in.
I walk in.
Nathaniel will awkwardly enter the room, although he knows Finch's opinion about him, but he has always tried to earn the man's respect. After all, he did spare him from death, so he awkwardly enters the room.
When you enter, you've been here before at least once. There are stacks upon stacks upon stacks of books. Some of them kind of old, some of them in cases. You'll notice, though, the more interesting thing you'll notice is that there's really nothing electronic in there. The only electronic thing you see is a really, really old television. And when you look on the television, you can obviously see that it is actually a link to the camera that you saw at the door. So that's the only image that's there.
Ugh.
And as you walk farther in through the books, you'll see another gentleman sitting in the sitting room, patient.
Before that, what kind of books? Do I recognize any of the titles? Like, are they medical or anything like that?
There's all sorts of things. You'll probably see a medical book or things like that. He just likes books. You don't even know if he's actually read them.
My character will be more interested with the other person who's in the room right now. Upon just a glance over, what does this person look like?
Well, as he sits cross-legged, you'll notice a man in perhaps his late 30s, early 40s, with a short, neat haircut, a wide smile, and some fine garments bestowed upon his person. He's very sharply dressed, and as you catch his gaze, he just cocks his head slightly and looks at you, nodding his head.
Mr. Blake will nod his head back, although be profoundly confused at why Mr. Finch would let anyone in here.
Who must you be, my friend?
I'm sorry.
Good evening yourself.
I'm sorry, Gideon. These are my new childer. This is Nathaniel, and this is Howard.
Hello, Mr. Gideon. I'm one of Mr. Finch's associates of sorts.
Tom will look at him really dirty when he refers to himself as an associate.
There is no need for the pleasantries here. Nathaniel and Howard. How very interesting. You said they are newly embraced, Tom?
Yeah, I needed more eyeballs.
I was afflicted with this condition, I believe it was last year. What month was it again, Finch? I forget easily.
Doesn't matter. I needed more eyes. The ones I had were failing me.
Of course, as it is so very common for such organs to rot should they not be treated with the utmost care. They are to be preserved in the fluid of and Gideon just sort of clicks his fingers several times. I have never been one for metaphors. But yes, so you have some new eyes. Gideon rises to his feet, and he just takes in a deep breath of you at first, Howard. And then of you, Nathaniel. Yes. Perhaps
Sir?
these ones will do.
Sir, I don't think it'd be wise to smell me. I haven't bathed in several nights.
You don't
Hygiene
sweat
is love.
anymore, Howard.
Yes, but
Hygiene is love.
I work with
Literally.
corpses.
Please do go on, Nathaniel, was it?
Actually, when Gideon did sniff Nathaniel, he would have smelled the obvious smell of blood, seemingly coming from his chest, and relatively fresh blood, too. But just for a brief moment.
No doubt there is a reason you are both here, interrupting our lovely conversation. Please, if you could seat yourself, that would be grand.
Howard finds the nicest chair and sits in it immediately.
Nathaniel will just find one that's just sitting around. He's not picky. As he will just say, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Manners. Such a commodity these nights. Noted, my dear. It is peculiar that the two of you arrive at the same time, however. I did not realize you had become so careless these days, Tom. And Gideon winks at Tom.
Whatever could you mean by that?
Well, usually the old one at a time policy was in effect last I visited you, when I came to bring with me an old friend of yours.
I miscalculated.
Of course, Tom, I mean you know disrespect. You are well within your right to take however many or few visitors in your own domain as you choose fit. Your haven is a place of sanctity for you, as it is for all of us, respectively.
Now, what is it that you two have come for?
It's a matter that has been occurring for the past several weeks, Mr. Finch. I do not know, but I believe it's a form of psychosis that has made manifest within me, and I'm wondering if it may be a possible, maybe, what's the word for it?
You were such a blowhard. He's talking about the visions. The visions are getting worse, and they're happening more frequently.
These visions...
Psychosis.
It is a form of psychosis.
Psychosis, my friend. Psychosis
Here's what
is...
the hell it is.
Whatever it is,
if I cannot...
Fascinating.
very fascinating.
So you said you've seen these two, Gideon? I've seen
Of course. Very troubling indeed, but to attempt to rationalize what it is that bores deep within our blood is to insult it. No, such things, neonates, cannot be rationalized, although I presume we all saw the same thing. Am I correct? Do you know what you saw? Or did you merely witness it?
Well, what I remember seeing was Confederate soldiers being shot and killed.
Yeah, a historian. Excellent. And what of you, Nathaniel? What did you see? Did you see anything at all, Nathaniel?
Just fighting. Soldiers. Confederate flag. Dying. Lots of dying.
Very good. Very good.
Death be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, yada yada. We saw killing and murder and everything like that. Did you see the same thing, is my question, sir?
Are you in a position to ask me such a question, Neonate?
We all share the same condition here. Whatever form it is, supernatural or medical in nature, we must figure this out. If we are all seeing the same thing, this somehow might be correlated with each other, and I can research this. We could figure something out here, and it could be a great step forward into discovering the truth about our condition, sir. I mean you no disrespect. I respect people of high caliber such as you. I was always taught to.
Mr. Holiday, was it? You intrigue me. You're very. Do not take that the wrong way either. But honestly, do you seek to understand yourself and the others gathered in this room, or do you seek a cure? I can assure you, if it is the latter, then not such a thing exists, nor should it be looked into. It will result in far more death and destruction than you could hope.
What I seek, sir, is simply an understanding of our condition. And if that could lead to a potential cure, well, that would be a very great byproduct of it. I do not wish to seek a cure currently, sir. The idea of immortality is an intriguing one. But through painstaking research, if we do find one, this could spell so much greatness for the people afflicted with this. It could all end. Think about it. We could all be human again.
Tom will lead into Gideon and try to speak slowly. You can see why I was interested in this one.
He has a unique perspective. I'm not sure if it will be dangerous or not, however. Gideon quickly snaps back to Mr. Holiday, sort of looking you up and down, pacing very slowly around you now. You can almost feel his fingers on the back of your shirt, but not quite, as if he's grasping out at you, or contemplating, at least. Or maybe you're just paranoid. If you wish to seek an understanding of your clan, Mr. Holiday, it will not come through science. That much I'm sure of.
I do not seek an understanding of the clan. I seek an understanding of the condition on a widespread scale.
Same answer.
Well, I wish you luck with your endeavors, Mr. Holiday. Although, be careful with whom you study and who you ask questions. You will find that some that walk this night will not be so gracious in your presence, especially considering our condition.
I see. And who would be these people who wouldn't be inclined to help me? To possibly maybe hate me for this?
Well, that is merely a matter of perspective. We are all very different individuals. As you can see, there is myself, and there is Mr. Finch, who has graciously accepted you into this accommodation. There is also yourself and Mr. Nathaniel. You two seem to be at odds with one another. This is intriguing enough on its own. If you were to ask questions of Nathaniel, would you presume him to answer you so readily?
I have no problem with Nathaniel. I never made any comments or conjectures toward the man. This just started for some reason. Probably a misunderstanding if anything else.
He's right there, boy. Don't talk to him like he's not here.
I know. I'm sitting next to him.
And then he'll just glare at Howard.
See what I mean?
And therein lies your answer, Mr. Holliday. I do not refer to a specific group. I refer to the differences in every individual you will encounter. And to remain vigilant, for you never know who is truly your friend.
Well, that is
But
true.
one thing for sure, if someone is painted as your enemy, you know them as such.
Very true. Well.
Mr.
what-
Finch,
Hmm.
I apologize for derailing whatever purpose these neonates are here for. If you wish to have a private conversation, I shall go and make myself some coffee. Perhaps
Do
you would
whatever you
like some.
like.
You
If you'd
can
like some
drink
coffee.
Actual coffee.
You're able
Of
to
course.
drink it.
How?
Perhaps this is of interest to you.
It is.
Maybe I shall return once my coffee has cooled,
Please
and you
do,
can
sir.
observe me.
This is fascinating. Howard writes down a quick note as this is happening. He has a small flip book, and he takes out a pencil and says, like,
I certainly hope, Mr. Holliday,
on the
that you
other
aren't just
hand,
leaving your notes around.
would show
Pardon?
the faintest hit of yearning as he just sort of envisions what it would be like to actually drink real liquid again instead of just Vitae.
I'll repeat what I said. I was like, I certainly hope, Mr. Holliday, you aren't leaving your notes around.
No,
Can't
I
have
keep
a broken tradition.
my notes locked up, secure. I die over them.
Good.
On that cheerful note, I shall depart from now. And Gideon bows his head to you, Tom, before leaving the room.
Tom, respects Gideon and kind of nods as he leaves. Now, children, what can I do for you? Have you been keeping your eyes open? Have you been watching?
Yes.
Yes.
I have nothing to report in that regards.
Does my neighbor possibly cheating on his wife count as keeping my eyes open?
Don't be an ass, Howard.
Oh, I always am, and you know that.
There's a lot of new...
I came here because I need to know how I can suppress these visions. There's got to be some way. I can't continue to do my job.
My question is, how are we having all the same visions?
Children, that's quite
Does it
enough.
really matter? We're all having them.
As Gideon said, there is no way to stop them. They just happen to all of us. Now, what they mean, I have no idea. That's probably best for Celine. She knows things. And he goes around just kind of shuffling his books and putting them away. But you are not unique in these visions. As I said, we've all seen them. Our dear hound seen them. Was checking up to see if I've seen them. Of course, I've seen them. The only thing that can get past my doors. I want you to keep watching. What new kindred have been embraced in our clan? Do you know? I want to know. How about in other clans? Do you know?
None that I'm aware of.
I want to know.
No.
I did run into a couple of kindred the other night. I did not know whether they belonged to the other three. That they had very peculiar tastes in entertainment.
What were their names?
And he will repeat several of the names that he heard from the club because I actually can't remember right now.
Okay. Send it to me later. I see. Interesting.
One
Interesting.
was
Our primogen had a meeting. Did you go?
no, I didn't.
Oh. No. Sorry.
The prince called an Elysium. Did you go?
Yes.
You did. Good. What did you see?
Well, I overheard the fact that a woman was staked. I also heard that I also met another member of our clan, a Mr. German man named Stefan, I believe.
Stefan. I don't know Stefan. Who is Stefan?
He's a
You hear from the other room. He is an outsider, but do not worry, I have my eyes on him.
Tom just kind of, perks up at hearing that and then turns back to them. Outsider. Yes, I want you to keep your eyes on him too.
I think he seems to be a bit of a religious one. I've noticed.
Good for him. That doesn't matter. Keep your eyes on him. He's not from around here. You don't know what he's capable of.
Who knows? I also met the person named Mort, who seemed to be very sleepy. I believe you call Nosferatu, right? The
Mort.
idiot. The deformed ones.
Yes. I taught you that. Very good, very good. You can retain information. I am very pleased. Anything else?
Nothing else except for the fact that one woman was staked. I think we debated something about musical chairs at one point. It was a long night.
Staked. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't say, keep your eyes open. I want to know these things. Nathaniel, could you do that for me? Particularly of our own clan, I'm interested about these new people. I know of Gideon. I know of our primogen. I know of Teresa, Claire. But their new child, or I don't know anything about them. I would like to know more. Is there anything else you'd like to ask me?
Well, not really.
Wonderful. Nathaniel.
Yes.
How are you?
Besides the troublesome visions, I'm fine.
Very good. Did you miss me?
I am.
Fantastic.
Silence.
Fantastic. And as he says that, he kind of looks at Howard and then looks at Nathaniel. Fantastic. Great.
The mumblings are somewhat interrupted as a familiar face returns to the room, carrying a mug. He sits down next to you, Mr. Holliday, and places the mug on the table. You can see steam rising from it. With a wide, gluttonous smile, he begins to sip.
Very interesting indeed. And can you taste it?
Nathaniel observes that.
It tastes like coffee.
Oh, bitter and kind of disgusting. Never been partial to coffee.
Everything tastes bitter and disgusting in comparison to blood. But the texture is different. It's a texture that I like. One person you would like to keep your eyes on, Mr. Finch. Damien Black of Clan Bruja.
Tell me more of this Damien Black of Clan Bruja.
He wandered into the church looking for Celine. I had a quiet word with him. He went on his way. I told him to bring cat food for our dear Mercy. He failed to do so after a substantial amount of time, although I hear it has been delivered now. He seems a little off, at least to me.
I could look into him for you, Mr. Finch.
Do so. Visiting Celine. What's happened to Latour? He has his own primogen.
That is a matter I shall speak to you about later.
Where would this Mr. Damien be located?
It matters not. I think he has some connections to the Aphrodite.
So that where would that be located?
I am not one for the nightlife. I believe it is a club somewhere in the city. Probably downtown.
Phone book's over there.
Howard grabs it.
So you see a large stack of books. After
He goes book diving.
He goes book diving. After a few minutes, I can't exactly remember the Aphrodite is off the top of my head. I think it's in the projects. You'll find it. You'll find the address. You know anything
the
about the map?
projects.
It's in the projects. Let me double check though. Checking the map right now.
This is
The
why I
Aphrodite
own
is
a
indeed
gun.
in the projects.
Yes, the Aphrodite is in the projects.
This is why I own a gun.
Interesting. And why did he need to speak with Celine?
Something about nightmares or something. I cannot quite remember, but I do remember his demeanor. He seemed very insistent. A little too insistent.
Yes.
You said of what clan was he of?
Bruja.
Mr. Damien Black of Clan Bruja.
Bruja. I don't know much, but aren't they the ones who are, like, have, I guess, anger management problems or something?
Gideon audibly sighs as he takes another sip from his coffee.
Something
Yes.
like that.
Well, that'll be interesting to meet someone whose mother didn't hug him very much as a child.
Don't make such assumptions.
Nathaniel will exhale at that exasperation. Then turn to Gideon and say, "Excuse me, if you don't mind me asking, how did you learn how to do that?"
How to sigh?
No.
He takes another sip of his coffee.
That. How can you...
There's nothing on here.
how
Grandma
can you
Sarah's
learn how to
birthday is
do
the
it?
8th. Knowing
My
that
God,
it is
I have always been able
yes.
to do this since I was but a babe, since I was 2 years old. I sucked from my mother's teeth when I was a baby. I then moved on to juice, then on to water and soft drinks. Coca-Cola was always a thrift of mine. Then I've always been able to do this. It is. You even do it now with blood. It is instinctive, surely.
I believe he means just with regular
Or
foodstuffs.
obviously some of us need the talent when we get our second chance at life.
Maybe we just have to practice for all we know. We haven't tried hard enough.
Not in here.
What do you know of the curse?
I or him?
Either.
Hmm?
It's a fancy way of describing what we are.
Yes, but I meant, was he talking to you or me?
Both of you, answer the question.
Okay, Christ. All I know is sunshine kills. We have to drink blood. Our hearts are not working. Most of our internal organs just don't work at all. And we still feel pain. Oh, and we can't have children. There's another one. Oh, and we can't eat food. We can't. You know, after a while, you start to notice the weakness is kind of horrible.
Gideon sighs again audibly, and you can see the breath coming from his mouth now. As he's been drinking quite a lot of the coffee, his breath is heated. He takes another sip. Cannot eat, cannot breathe. Internal organs do not work. Heart does not work. Have you ever been staked?
No, and I do not want to be.
No.
I did hear about that woman getting staked at the Elysium.
Yes, Gideon, do you know anything about that? I'd like to know.
I have heard whispers through Vincent, yes. I have also heard that another individual was apprehended.
Why?
Tell me, Tom, you read the papers, yes?
Yes. Yes, I do.
There was a killing recently in the projects. The individual staked was apprehended in relation to those.
Wasn't it the murder of an
Incidents.
officer?
Correct.
Oh, yes. Poor fellow.
I have it on good authority that this Toreador was the perpetrator of this murder, and that she was rather lax in removing evidence from the scene. Hence, her capture and subsequent destruction.
Blasted murderers.
Well, Tons has the balls to take out his own clan. I always did like him.
So they were killed just for forgetting to clean up after themselves.
Indeed, it was one of the first things I taught both of you. Uphold the masquerade.
Yes,
It
but
keeps us all safe.
it almost sounds like the prince was almost like she was being made an example of, to a sort. Very good idea, actually, when you think about it.
Everyone
Especially with
who
all
breaks
the children.
masquerade and is executed is an example to be made of.
I understand, but I mean, it's just the way they did it so much. I mean, it was very good on the prince's part, is what I'm saying.
Perhaps. This is why I stress you keep those notes safe and close to you.
I'd die before giving those up.
May I have a look at your notes, Mr. Holliday?
Well, really, it's just one. This is a new notebook.
May I have a look, Mr. Holliday?
He opens it up and hands it to you, and what it says is, He can somehow eat food. This is interesting.
He looks at your note, holding it in his hands. What was that you said about keeping your note secure, Mr. Holiday? And he stands up and begins to walk into the kitchen.
God damn my politeness.
Tom is visibly grumpy now. He's just kind of scowling at you, and just shaking his head.
It was kind of a crap note to begin with. Whatever.
So it's saying, we uphold masquerade to keep us safe.
I understand this. I understand that there are probably some crazy zealots out there who'd probably want to see us die because, oh my god, they're different. So,
They do. It's not a joke.
I'm not making a joke, Mr. Finch. All I'm saying is I understand we must uphold it. He, on the other hand, is not one of those crazy zealots with shotguns. He was a very polite gentleman, so I decided to let him see what I wrote. And all I really wrote was, this is interesting.
You feel something on the back of your neck. As you turn around, you see Gideon staring at you with an eyebrow raised. I may not have my shotgun in here, Mr. Holiday, but believe me, I have one. He hands you back the note.
Well, Nathaniel is...
Thank you. My night terrors are going to be amplified by 12 tonight.
I didn't even notice Gideon do that. Now that was interesting.
Everything is interesting when you lack experience.
As I was saying, though, this is no joke. There are kind who know of our existence and try to kill us. You were not here. Not born yet, we should say, when the Brotherhood of the Sun burned down Elysium.
Oh, jeez.
Good day.
Brotherhood of the Sun.
Well, wait, what were they like a... What, there was like a religious group or something? Crazies?
Doesn't matter.
It matters, because knowing this information is always good. We must document everything, in my opinion, and keep it very safe.
Child, what matters is they were kind, and somehow they found out we existed.
Which
And
is
then
bad.
they killed us. Very. This one who was executed left a trail that a mortal, a kind, could have found. And then what? Did they ignore it?
This is
Did they
probably
take it
why I'm
back
going
to
to
the Brotherhood?
rig... This is why I'm going to have a failsafe in my basement at some point.
You really do talk too much, Mr. Holiday. You really do.
I know. Well,
I
but maybe...
believe,
Well, I love the sound of my voice.
I believe, Mr. Holiday, that was your sire instructing you to remain quiet within his haven. You do not wish to breach one of the traditions, do you, Mr. Holiday?
Pardon me, sir.
Allow me to introduce myself formally. Gideon, Hound of Clan Malkavian.
Nice to meet you, sir.
It has been 13 years since the Brotherhood of the Sun torched the Elysium. Do you wish to know more?
Yes, sir, I would.
Do not mind. I wish to.
The very last of the Brotherhood of the Sun members was executed by the Tremere Hound. I am the Malkavian Hound. If
What?
Hound.
No, no. No.
Like an enforcer, I presume.
What's Tremere?
That is irrelevant at this time. Another clan, no doubt you will have dealings with at some point. Now, if A group capable of razing our very sanctuary to the ground was destroyed by a fellow hound. Sit and think about just what we are capable of when unified. I do not mean to threaten you, but if I catch either of you disrespecting the traditions, you will be put to a similar fate as this toreador. It is not to make an example, it is to preserve our existence. One death to preserve all of us is nothing, it is meaningless. And if you had existed for a millennia and one upstart neonate chose to threaten that with their own foolish accents, what would you do? You would do exactly the same. You would not even draw breath. You would not sweat. You would remove them from this plane of existence without hesitation. It may seem harsh to you, but that is because you have not yet fully come to understand our society.
At this point, it's a very good thing that Nathaniel can shiver at this point, because he certainly would be after that.
They burned the entire thing to the ground.
They killed several kindred, including the keeper, if I recall correctly.
And justice must be brought to the murderer.
They're gone. Long gone.
But you can never kill an idea. And should mortals ever get that same idea again, we will suffer similar events. I have no doubt about it. Allow me to enlighten you as to just what it is the hound does. A hound is an enforcer, an investigator. We can exercise our rights to dig in whichever holes we need to and silence the voices of any who stand against the Camarilla, who stand against our ideals, who seek to bring about our destruction or threaten our security. Respect the traditions in all that you do, and you will never have a problem with me or the sheriff, who I can assure you is a far more experienced judge, jury, and executioner than I. Gideon seats himself and takes a final swig of his coffee.
Gideon, what were we talking about before my two childer came?
All sorts of matters. Dear Mercy, of course.
Hmm.
And the visions.
Consider these visions, child. They may be helpful, they may not be. It's hard to say. Is there anything else you guys need? Oh, sorry. Go on, Ben. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
About that and contemplates it, because he's definitely shaken up at this point, so he's his normal, like... Okay, cynicism is sort of melted away at this point, as he will honestly consider what it is that he saw in the visions, we'll say. In the vision, the line of soldiers were just walking towards the enemy cannons and were being mowed down. Wave after wave, person after person dying. But they didn't stop once, even as they were being mowed down. Were those soldiers us or our enemies?
That's hard to say.
Gideon's grip on the coffee mug seems to tighten to the point where it fractures into several chunks of porcelain. He looks down surprised at his hand, cut but not bleeding, and just stares for a moment.
Nathaniel will go quiet at that point and then just wait in anticipation, thinking that he might have said something he shouldn't.
Forgive me, Tom, I will replace it.
Tom doesn't say anything. We don't know, Nathaniel, what they mean. The only one who might know is Celine, maybe.
You could go talk to her on your behalf. It has been a long time since I met with her.
If you'd like.
Well,
I will look into this Damien individual.
Good. There's nothing else. You two are excused.
Howard gets up, leaving. Doesn't really actually say anything else. Not even really a goodbye to anyone. Just leaves.
Nathaniel is also very quiet, far more humbled than he could possibly imagine coming into this meeting. He'll just give one last look at his sire and then turn and leave out the door, closing it behind him. In the hallway, he'll exchange one last look with Howard, except this time all of the frustration is gone, and he's just looks deeply troubled by the revelations that were revealed tonight. And
Meanwhile,
if nothing else is said, he'll just head back to his car.
Gideon, recomposing himself, leans in towards Tom and just utters a sentence. La Tour has been replaced.
I see. Thank you.
Always here, Thomas. It was good to see you again.
Yes.
And get yourself out of the house sometime, my friend. It is not good to be holed up in here.
Tom says nothing. He just kind of looks at Gideon really seriously. He doesn't say anything at all.
You may have your eyes on the street, but I've found that neonates do not compare to your own judgment. Perceive the world for what it truly is, instead of what you see through the whispers of others. You will feel better for it, even if you only do it once a year. I'm sure you would feel better. Partially.
I will consider it.
Perhaps I will have to take you out for a drink sometime.
If you see Mercy again, tell her not to worry about looking.
I will tell her. There's a slight look of sadness in Gideon's eyes as he says this.
Thank you.
She is a model example of what the youngest among us should be.
Then she is of no use. Oh, go on.
I am very proud of her.
Good. She is of no use of me anymore then.
She will always have use of you. It is not quite so simple, you know.
Mm.
Perhaps
Honestly.
one day.
Go
Perhaps
on.
one day she can visit you. I understand, though.
Honestly, I always thought she liked you more than me.
There is no competition. One can never replace the bond between sire and child. You're missing out. I do not wish to upset you, but
You know very well my experience wasn't that great.
I know you do not wish the same to come about again. But not all of us are like him.
Hmm.
He always was rash.
Yes. Yes, it was. He was.
It is not your fault, Tom. Try not to blame yourself. Easier said than done.
Hmm. I need some time to think about all these things I've learned today.
Of course,
Do tell Celine I said hello.
I will send you regards with a smile. We are here for you, Tom. I am here for you. Do know that.
I do. Thank you.
It is what I am here for. It's nothing. Take care. And I will replace that. I promise you. Next time I am here, I'll bring you a new one. A better one.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. I don't use them for anything.
Take care, Tom.
You too.
Gideon, looking down at his hand as he begins to weave himself back together, starts to shake slightly, but grasping his wrist with his other hand, relaxes somewhat forcibly before nodding his head towards Tom and going to the door. Remember to lock it behind me. Tom nods. Gideon nods at Tom.
Tom kind of sarcastically smiles as he leaves. And of course, as he exits the door, you hear all the clicks as he's relocking him.
Gideon, somewhat troubled by his visit this evening. I'm not too sure what to make of these two neonates he's encountered. He was lost in thought. His mind drifts to Mercy, to the visions. Thinks it's about high time he gets back to the church and makes sure she's okay. And there, the scene will end.